What's up, everybody? This is What is Sports. I'm your host, Tyler Dietz. With me is Nicholas Grant. How's it going, Nick?
Hey, man, it's going pretty well. Happy to be here. We got a lot of cool sports stuff happening for you sports fans out there, so I'm ready to get into it, man.
That's right. Unfortunately, JP is not with us this week, but he'll be back next week. Never fret. If you like what you hear this episode, give us a like on our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter at WhatIsSports1 with no question mark. And please subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, or Google Play if you haven't yet, and leave us a rating and review if you like the show. Also, check out our sister show, What is Nerd? This week, we'll be talking about slasher movies. Finally, if you have any questions or comments, send us an email at wisportscast@gmail.com. Today, we're going to be recapping the UT versus OU game, the Rumble in the Jungle, or the, what's it called again, Nick?
that was something else. No, it's what goes by a few names, the Red River Rivalry. Let's try to say that 5 times fast.
Red River Rivalry.
Red River Rivalry. Unless, you're like me and you can't speak well. But then, Red River Shootout, Red River Showdown, or just simply Texas OU. But yeah,
something about the Red River.
Yeah, definitely.
And I guess that's because the Red River is the dividing line between the Texas and Oklahoma. It actually took me forever to figure that out. I was thinking about, I was like, why is it called that? And there you go.
Well, and I got a little bit of history in it too that I will talk about because it is pretty cool, exciting atmosphere. But yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Cool, dope. Also, we're going to be talking about something that I've been getting into recently: All Elite Wrestling, which. Man. I'm obsessed with this. I cannot wait for the next episode, which of course airs Wednesday this week. The day that you're hearing this, I'm foaming at the mouth, excited for the next episode of AEW. So we'll talk about it when we get to it. But first, we've got some news.
News!
The WNBA Playoff Finals were this past weekend. And I'm sure you may know this already, the Mystics won. This was a close match overall. The Sun had a 9-point lead in the third quarter, which was the biggest difference in the game until the Mystics closed the gap towards the end of the quarter. Then the game remained close until about halfway through the fourth quarter. The Mystics pulled ahead and basically didn't stop. They stayed ahead for the rest of the game. They opened that lead, ending the game in an 89-78 victory. So this was a pretty exciting series. This was the Mystics' first time ever winning the championship, so congrats to them. Fun series. They were favored. They were the number 1 seeded team, but still, it was very entertaining series to watch. Nick, did you get to see any of it?
I did not, but I heard good things.
Yeah, it was good stuff.
That's all I got.
Well, and next up we got the Rugby World Cup, which is currently happening. Unfortunately, the U.S. team is terrible, apparently. They lost all 4 group stage matches. So they have the worst record of any of the other teams, except for Russia. Russia also lost all 4 matches in their group stage. So bummer.
I didn't really keep up with it a whole lot, but didn't the U.S. Get pretty much blown out in every game? I feel like everything I saw, it was bad. Yeah, a very sad day for U.S. rugby fans. But the quarterfinals are starting this weekend. On Saturday, you have England versus Australia, and then you have New Zealand versus Ireland. Sunday, this coming Sunday, you have Wales versus France and Japan versus South Africa. Those are the 4, the final 8 teams. They'll be playing each other in the quarterfinals. The semifinals will be the following weekend. Now, the bad news is it's going to be tough to watch these games if you live in the U.S. They're not going to be airing on TV as far as I know. In fact, you have to pay for the NBC Sports Gold Pass. So a single match is $35 to stream the match, or you can pay a lump payment of $100 to watch all the remaining matches of the tournament. That's ridiculous. I mean, I guess really, it's what? So it's what you have 4. That's 6, 7 more games, right?
Yeah,
something like that. So that's. I mean, I guess that makes sense.
It should be
It should be 8 games because there will be a match for third as well.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, so we can watch for free the group stages, kind of the, just, hey, these are some games, but all the exciting stuff we have to pay for.
Yeah, it's like they hook you,
Oh, yeah. It's a ploy. They say, hey, this is rugby, but if you want to watch better rugby, you got to pay. But, I guess everybody's got to make some money somehow. And
yes, which I will be watching the games for free, but, through a not necessarily reputable means. But so I will let you guys know how those games go. I'm sure that the recaps will do a pretty good job. But again, if you want to see the whole thing legally, you need to pay $100 to NBC to get the sports gold pass. Honestly, though, $100 is not a terrible deal to watch 8 exciting games of rugby. Especially if you got some other people that want to watch it, split it up like pay-per-view. You know what I'm saying? Throw some parties and whatnot.
We should have a rugby watching party. Well, actually, aren't the matches at midnight and like 2 in the morning?
Right. They're at like 2 in the morning.
Yeah, so. I'll be asleep. So I'll let you pay for it and you can tell me about it.
That's right. It ain't easy being a rugby fan in the U.S., I guess.
No,
but anyways, so moving on past rugby, Nick, you got some MLB Playoffs updates for us?
Yes. For all you guys listening, the Astros-Yankees advanced to the American League Championship Series, while the Nationals and Cardinals advanced to the National League Championship Series. And it was pretty exciting Game 5 for the Cardinals. They destroyed the Braves in Game 5, 13-1.
That was ridiculous. That first inning was insane.
Yeah, well, it was, and actually they made history. The Cardinals became the first team to score 10 runs in the first inning of a postseason game. So, yeah. I mean, that's kind of surprising, but
it was crazy.
Pretty cool. Yeah,
The game overall wasn't super exciting, but that first inning was pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you score 10 runs in one inning, the game's pretty much over.
Yeah.
And Game 5 of the Nationals and Dodgers was actually very exciting as well. So the Dodgers were up 3-1 late in the game, and they put in Clayton Kershaw in the 8th inning, up 3-1 to kind of close it out. Well, it didn't work out. For those who do not know, Clayton Kershaw is one of the greatest pitchers of our generation. He's going to go in the Hall of Fame. He's kind of on the decline skills-wise, but he's still really good. So in the 8th inning, he gave up back-to-back home runs on back-to-back pitches. So the Nationals tied the game up at 3. And then in the 10th inning, Howie Kendrick hit a grand slam to propel the Nationals to a 7-3 victory, knocking the Dodgers out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
So it was pretty dramatic.
That was amazing too. That was actually the first game that I watched in this series, and it kind of won me over on the Nationals. I was so thrilled to see the Nationals get that grand slam and win the game. That was amazing. And so now, me personally, I would love to see a Nationals versus Astros World Series.
Well, I'll talk about that because that's actually a very likely possibility. So since you're talking about the Nationals, I'll go ahead and jump into the National League Championship Series. As of right now, like I said, the Cardinals and Nationals are playing, but the Nationals have been owning the Cardinals. They currently have they're playing right now as we're recording, Tuesday night. And but the Nationals lead the series 3-0. In Game 1, Nationals won 2-0. Game 2, 3-1. Game 3, 8-1. And currently in Game 4, it's the bottom of the third, and it's 7-0 Nationals.
Wow.
So yeah, Cardinals scored all the runs in Game 5 in the first inning, and that's been about it in the in the NLDS. But yeah, so this is actually very historic too, because if the Nationals win tonight, and it's looking like there's a strong chance they will make their first World Series appearance. So that's actually really cool, and I'm pulling for them.
And they're a wild card team, right?
Yeah,
that's super exciting. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. It's always cool whenever you see a wild card team do that.
Yeah.
And it happens a lot in a variety of sports. But then in the American League side, you have the Yankees and Astros. Game 3 ended today. The Astros lead the series 2-1. Game 1, it was all Yankees. They won 7-0. Game 2 was a little bit tighter contest. The Astros won 3-2 in 11 innings, and Carlos Correa hit a walk-off home run in the 11th. And Game 3 was today, the day of this recording, October 15th, and the Astros won at Yankee Stadium 4-1. So it's that looks like it'll be a pretty good series, hopefully. And but yeah, Nationals Cardinals is pretty much over. But yeah. So that's kind of an update. And Dietz, I'm glad you're watching the MLB playoffs, because playoff baseball, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
even if you don't really have your team in it, it's still fun to watch because every pitch matters. Basically, every at bat, everything is just do or die situation. Yeah, you have to win the series 4 games to 3, or be the first to win 4 games rather. But it's all very important.
Yeah, and it's cool to be there for like some amazing moments. Like that first inning of that Game 5 of the Cardinals. And then like the grand slam that the Nationals hit in their Game 5, like it's to see that stuff, and like it's so exciting. It makes you appreciate how great baseball is, because I feel like there aren't a lot of other sports that have moments quite like that, because baseball can the tables can turn in a single inning in a way that's that doesn't happen that much in other sports.
Oh no, so, I totally agree, and
yeah,
and this is one of the reasons why I love baseball, because anything can happen, and the stories that come out of baseball, like unlikely heroes emerge, and granted that can happen in any sport, but there's so many memorable moments in baseball that are so dramatic, and it's just such a huge stage. And while baseball is a team sport, a lot of it's on the individuals as well. And it's just really neat. And
because in a lot of ways, baseball, like part of the thrill of it breaks down to it's a duel between a pitcher and a hitter. That's where a lot of the drama comes from that makes it really exciting. So yeah, baseball is cool. I am a fan.
Yeah, well, join the club. Yeah, it's great.
But all right, so looking forward to the future. So as you said, the Nationals and Cardinals series is likely to be over after this episode drops, and then Astros and Yankees have one more win. When's the next Astros and Yankees game? Is that Wednesday this week?
Yeah, the Astros-Yankees play Wednesday, and then Wednesday and Thursday, and then they take a travel day on Friday, and they play again on Saturday if necessary, and Sunday Game 7 if necessary. So it's probably going to go back to Houston, so it'll be a good series to watch.
All right. Awesome. So next up on the docket, we got one of our favorite segments in this show. You thought he was gone, but he's back. We got another segment of Tony Baloney.
Tony Baloney!
Okay, Nick, what's going on with Antonio Brown?
Well, Antonio Brown is once again making, I wouldn't say headlines, but he's in the news. He said that he wants to resolve his off-field issues so he can return to the NFL, even though he announced back in September he wasn't interested in playing in the league anymore. And apparently an unnamed source told ESPN's Jeremy Fowler that. But yeah, Antonio Brown wants to get over this sexual assault accusation over with so he can move forward and hopefully play in the NFL again. So,
all right. Well,
yeah.
The saga continues.
Yeah, and if you're not following Antonio Brown on Twitter, I highly recommend it. It's been pretty entertaining. He's a character, and with all this stuff happening, it's been kind of interesting to see his stuff. But yeah, that's the Tony Baloney news of the day.
Right on. Okay, so speaking of football, you also have some notable college football games that happened this week, right?
Yeah, this past week there was actually several exciting games between some highly ranked teams and stuff like that. Number 1, Alabama defeated 24 A&M 47-28. That was a highly anticipated game. Didn't really have that exciting outcome, but it was 2 top 25 teams. Number 8, Wisconsin defeated Michigan State 38-0. Why is that notable? Well, I'm glad you asked, Dietz. I'll tell you why. Wisconsin defense has been looking insane so far. They've posted 4 shutouts and only allowed a combined 29 points to their opponents this year. That's 29 points over 6 games. To kind of put that in perspective, A&M scored, Alabama gave up 28 in one game against A&M. So Wisconsin defense looks insane. They're ranked number 8. They will give Ohio State a run for their money in the Big Ten.
All right.
Moving on, we have number 22 Baylor. Well, they were 22. They've moved up, I think, to 16 now. But 22 Baylor defeated Texas Tech in double overtime, 33-30. Why is that big deal? I'll tell you why. Baylor is surprisingly undefeated at 6-0. They weren't that great for the past few years after Art Briles really made them into a big, strong team. But yeah, so they're surprisingly at 6-0.
Yeah, I feel like they should be ranked higher than even where they're at now. What'd you say, 18, 16, something like that?
Yeah, I think right now they're 16. And yeah, but I think part of it is the fact that I can't remember who all they've played, but I don't think they've played any really strong or ranked opponents. I think that kind of hinders their ranking.
And also some jabronis.
But also I think part of it is the fact that they weren't expected to be this good, and so people might be a little skeptical of their 6-0 record, and that plays a part of it. I haven't watched them play yet, so I don't know for sure, but I think they're supposed to be pretty good. Obviously, you're 6-0, you're doing something right. Moving on, number 9 Notre Dame defeated USC 30-27. That's a pretty big rivalry. Some other good games. Number 10 Penn State defeated number 17 Iowa 17-12. Sorry, close game between two good teams. And then you had number 5 LSU defeating number 7 Florida 42-28. So that was another anticipated game. Didn't really hold up. But the probably the biggest game that happened this past weekend and most surprising game, unranked South Carolina defeated number 3 Georgia 20-17 in double overtime in Athens, Georgia.
Wow.
That was probably the biggest upset of the year so far. And to kind of put things in perspective, South Carolina was 2-3 leading into this game, and Georgia was 5-0. Georgia was a national title contender, and they still are, but now it's kind of like they have that blemish on their resume, and they just need a few things to happen to get in the playoffs. But ultimately, I think they will. But yeah, that's a tough loss.
Nice.
And very surprising.
Well, and it's cool that there's a bunch of crazy games that happened this weekend because I feel like the news for college football has been a little bit slow in recent weeks, and so it's cool that we had this nice action-packed weekend in the world of college football. There's one game that you didn't mention, though. UT versus OU, the Red River Shootout.
that game.
Game recap.
I was, like we said in the last episode, I was going to attend, and I went to the state fair and went to the game, and actually you went to the state fair as well.
I did. I was there begging for tickets. I had my little tin cup out, and I was begging folks for tickets, but I did not receive one because I did not want to pay $300 for one.
Yes.
But I had a pretty good time at the state fair anyways. I ate a deep-fried Twinkie.
Nice.
It was pretty good. I ate a waffle stuffed with chicken that upset my tummy, especially since I usually don't eat meat. But
that would do it.
Yeah, but had a good time regardless. There was a lot of Texas and OU fans even out in the crowd because we had the Cotton Bowl that's at the Texas State Fair in Fair Park in Dallas, Texas. So the Cotton Bowl is the big stadium where they had the football game. And of course, if you go, if you're just one of the peasants, they can't afford a ticket. They throw you out of there. They turn you at the door, and you have to go back and eat some more corn dogs at the state fair. Yeah. But I noticed that even out with the other peasants at the state fair,
they're just patrons. I mean, you can go to the state fair during the game and not just enjoy the fair. I mean, it's not like you were an outcast by any means. I mean, there's still fair things happening.
Yeah, we're just slumming it in the outskirts. But there were still a lot of people wearing Texas and OU gear. I noticed that there was a pretty even amount, which is surprising, given that we're in Texas. But they had big old TV screens out and about. I was avoiding them because I didn't want to watch the game because I was recording it at home. And so it's going to wait till my wife and I were done at the state fair, and then we would kind of hurry on home before the game got out so we could beat all the traffic out of there. But we had a good time. It sounded like I noticed that the cheers from the stadium in like the first couple of quarters, though, stadium wasn't that loud. And it seemed to me like the game kind of got off to a slow start, didn't it?
It did, and before we get into the game, I kind of just want to give a little bit of history on the series because it's one of the most iconic and unique games, rivalries in college football.
Yeah, it's the setting of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Yeah, that's what you said, and I mean I'll take your word on it. But some history before we go into the game, like we said at the top of the show, it's been called the Red River Showdown, the Red River Rivalry, the Red River Classic, the Red River Shootout, or simply the Texas OU or the OU Texas game. And like you said, it's because the Red River separates the boundary between Texas and Oklahoma. Now, since 1932, this game has been played in the Cotton Bowl Stadium in Dallas during the Texas State Fair. Some of y'all might think, well, I thought the Cotton Bowl was Jerry Jonesville at the Cowboy Stadium. Well, the original Cotton Bowl is in Fair Park in Dallas. And it's really cool because it's a neutral site game. And another neutral site game, which we'll probably recap once it happens, is the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. And that's the Georgia-Florida game. And that's played in Jacksonville. So we can check that out.
And so it's in Dallas because Dallas is halfway between Austin, which is where UT is, and wherever OU is. Where's OU?
In Norman, Oklahoma.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just for it's halfway. And these two teams have faced each other 115 times since their first meeting back in October 10th, 1900. Dietz, I'm sure you remember that day fondly.
Oh, yeah, it's a good day.
Yeah, good day. But Texas leads the series overall, 62-48 with 5 ties. And the winner of this game wins the coveted Golden Hat Trophy. So they play a football game for a Golden Hat. It's cool. But yeah, it's been played in Dallas since 1912, except when it was played in Houston in 1913, in Norman, Oklahoma in 1922, and in Austin, Texas in 1923. But besides that, been played in Dallas. And like you said, it's the halfway mark, point between Austin and Norman. And it's cool too. I don't know if you've seen pictures, but the seats are split 50-50, where one side is burnt orange and the other side is crimson. So it's really cool. It's a really neat thing to see.
So whenever you buy your ticket, basically, do you just pick the OU side or the Texas side? How's that work?
Well, to be honest, my parents buy the tickets for us, but I think you request where you want to buy your ticket. And don't get me wrong. I mean, you can still buy a ticket to the game. Let's say you're an OU fan. You can obviously still buy a ticket and sit in the other side where the Texas fans are.
Yeah, you're probably going to get beat up though, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not too crazy. I mean,
I saw my favorite thing that I saw. There was a guy with a sign who he was wearing a Texas shirt, and the sign said, "Win or lose, at least we don't live in Oklahoma."
Yeah,
I thought that's pretty good.
Yeah, there's a lot of. I mean, these guys. I mean, like I said, they've played 115 times. There's a lot of history between these two schools. They're each other's biggest rivals. It's pretty intense. A lot of. I feel like there is some respect between the two schools for the most part, but there's also a lot of just, I don't know, there's some animosity. I mean, it's pretty intense, like I said, and it's pretty fun. But honestly, I haven't had any bad experiences with. My parents went to UT, so I was born and raised a UT fan. My brother went to UT. A lot of my family went to UT. And we said this before, Dietz and I, and JP, we all went and actually met at the University of Texas at Tyler. And so I'm a UT fan, even though I didn't go to the school, the main one in Austin. And so, yeah, I was there wearing my burnt orange, and I haven't had any bad experiences with any OU fans. For the most part, if you see them after the game, it's actually, I don't want to say cordial, but
yeah, you're just like, you son of a bitch, you won. Yeah, like that.
Yeah, congratulations. Yeah, no, it's actually everybody's in pretty decent spirits, unless one team just gets completely obliterated, and then it's not so fun. But yeah, to get into the recap, OU won. We'll say this out right out of the gate. OU won 34-27, and Dietz, correct me if I'm wrong, but it really didn't seem as close as the score indicated.
So it seemed to me like OU was just dominating.
Oh yeah.
And I was going into this. I have no preference. I don't watch college football, but watching it and like I don't know. I found myself rooting for OU just because I usually either default to the underdog or if it's just clear that one team is like performing better and deserves to win. So I found myself rooting for OU just because they seemed to be doing so much better than Texas, at least in the beginning.
Yeah, and when the game started, OU's offense, honestly, I didn't see much of the first quarter because it was just a madhouse outside.
You're getting beer?
Yeah, so I was so this is actually the first game at the Cotton Bowl that they served alcohol, and so I went to buy myself and my wife an alcoholic beverage. And the line, it was ridiculous. So I stood in line for the first quarter, which wasn't fun. But, I watched a little bit of it, though, of the first quarter. And OU, their offense looked really, really strong. And then their defense looked really strong. I think I was mainly impressed with OU's defense. They just bottled up UT from the get-go. I'm actually kind of surprised UT scored 27 points because it didn't seem like they would be able to at all.
Yeah.
OU's defense last year was pretty much a laughingstock. This year they've been impressive, and OU's offense has been really impressive too throughout the season. And I was texting one of my friends, and he said, "Man, UT's defense is terrible." And I said, "Dude, the only reason why UT's in this game is because UT's defense, which sounds weird because OU put up a great show offensively, but
it's because OU was doing so well that it made UT look bad.
Right. Well, because OU, they put up 511 yards of offense, which is a lot, compared to Texas that only put up 310, which obviously is a big drop-off. But OU had the Texas defense forced 2 turnovers, which was huge. Time of possession was pretty even, but I mean, really, this game felt a lot like the Texas-LSU game that we watched earlier. LSU jumped to get a little lead, and I think at the half they were leading 10-3, and then after the third quarter it was 20-17. Then after the fourth it was 34-27.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously a lot more action in the second half, but I mean it was a one-possession game. It didn't seem that close. OU's defense was swarming, and they looked really good against Texas's offense. And Texas defense, I know I just said they kind of kept Texas in the game, but they couldn't tackle for crap. I mean, you watched it. Did you see a lot of missed tackles, or did you notice all of those?
Yeah, one thing that I noticed big time, because I couldn't tell you the names of any of these players, but CD Lamb, right? Was he the receiver for?
Yeah, he was basically he was basically
everywhere.
OU's offense. Oh yeah, he was great. He had 10 catches for 171 yards and 3 touchdowns. So he was doing great.
He's surely got to go pro after the season. Do you think?
Probably. I don't know if he's I want to say he's a junior. I don't know his year, but yeah, I mean he's definitely going to be a prospect. I mean he's been having a great year too.
Because Chantel was, my wife Chantel was asking me about if a player's so good they're not going to stick around for another year, and that's what I was telling her. I was like, yeah, I feel like Lamb is so good, he probably doesn't need to be staying at college any longer,
Yeah, and I mean it depends on the person. Some people might say, no, I really enjoy my playing college football because once you go pro, you can't go back to college, and so they might say I want to do it again, but the money kind of talks, and if you can be drafted, in like the first few rounds, you might take your chances and do that. So,
yeah.
And plus, if you're having a great year like CD Lamb is having, you don't want to risk your next year in college with injury and then your draft stock drop.
Right,
so that's another thing. So that's why a lot of guys do jump for the pros. But no, OU's offense has been sensational this year, and their defense looks like they've taken steps forward. they're gonna be pretty dangerous. And but there's actually a chance that these two teams meet again in the Big 12 championship. If Texas wins out or plays really well, they could meet OU in the Big 12 championship game and fight for the Big 12 title. So that'd be fun to watch.
Okay, cool. Well, all right, so talking next week for the recap, what are our options?
Well, after searching far and wide, and really not that far, but I found 3 games that I think would be entertaining. We have number 12 Oregon at number 25 Washington. That will be 2:30 p.m. on ABC, 2:30 Central Standard Time. Then you have number 18 Baylor at Oklahoma State, which would be 3 o'clock on Fox. These are all on Saturday. And then number 16 Michigan at number 7 Penn State at 6:30 p.m. on ABC. All these games.
You think all those would be good?
I think they'd be pretty good. I think the Baylor Oklahoma State or the Michigan Penn State would be better. Honestly, I think the Michigan Penn State game would probably be the best.
Let's do Michigan and Penn State, just since we've just done a Texas team. We don't want to be too married to Texas, so Michigan and Penn State, let's do it. 6:30 on ABC.
I say let's do that, and plus, good friend of the show, Nick Easterday, who's also going to be on our What is Nerd episode this week. He's a fan of Michigan Wolverines, so in honor of him, I think it's only fair that we do Michigan and Penn State, and so
nice.
it'll be fun.
All right, so that's the game recap. Next on, we're moving on to our main topic. We're going to talk about All Elite Wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so Nick.
So is it really all elite, or is it like some elites?
It's like some elite, actually. Not literally all elite, but like maybe half elite. But no. So what do you know about all elite wrestling? Have you seen the promos? Do you know anything about it other than kind of what I already told you?
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit. For those who do not know, we actually do hang out in real life. We don't just talk once a week. And we actually last Friday, we went and saw Wu-Tang Clan in concert. That was pretty awesome. And before the show, we were talking about podcasts and different things. And yeah, you told me a little bit about All Elite Wrestling. And all I know is that you said Chris Jericho is in it, and I couldn't believe it because I feel like he's, fairly old.
Well, did you know, because you and JP have talked a little bit here and there about wrestling on the show. Did you ever watch wrestling growing up?
I mean, very little. Most of my knowledge from wrestling came from some of my good friends. Yeah, mainly video games, but some of my really good friends growing up, they were into wrestling, and so they kind of told me the storylines, and then we would. They were the guys that would buy the WWE or whatever, the Raw soundtracks. I'm like, oh, this is Kane's walkout song. This is this, and then they would watch videos of them walking out, and so that's the kind of the guys that I hung out with, and so I have a little bit of experience with it.
Yeah, I never watched wrestling growing up. My cousins were into it, and so they had like the action figures, and every now and then, if I was visiting them, we would watch some, and that was back whenever. Like, I guess they called it the Attitude Era, is back in those days. So whenever The Rock was around and Stone Cold, and like The Undertaker, and so yeah, all these guys were. I guess that's for a lot of people. That's like the glory days of WWE. Actually, that was WWF back in the day. But I never got into it myself because whenever I was a kid, I was like, oh, it's all fake anyways, and I thought I was too cool for wrestling. But then as I got older and like more curious, like even like in recent years, I've just been kind of like wondering about it, like because it's kind of like comic books for me. It's just this whole other like niche thing that I just don't know anything about. And I mean
it's just entertainment, and it's cool. It's just very macho, and yeah, definitely comic book style because you have these larger than life characters, and I mean, I know they have some crazy names and insane personalities, and like, what was we made fun of this guy because we're like, man, this guy's a weirdo. But are you familiar with Goldust?
Goldust, yeah.
Okay,
Goldust,
he's looked so weird. I remember my friends and I would play one of the games, SmackDown or whatever, Like, all right, if you lose the Gold Dust, we'd say we'll beat you up or something. And then one time I was facing Gold Dust and almost lost, and so I paused and quit the game before my friends beat me up.
Oh man, that's the good old days whenever friends just beat each other up for losing to Gold Dust.
It was a simpler time.
I've always been a little bit curious here and there, and because the story is so dense and so much happens, and there's so many characters, and it never stops. Just like comic books. So this thing's coming out, All Elite Wrestling. It's the new competitor to WWE, founded just this year by the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Tony Khan. And it's wrestling. It's professional wrestling. It looks and feels and smells a lot like the WWE, except it's new. Because apparently a lot of fans have kind of been tired of the WWE. I'm not sure exactly what, because I'm not a wrestling fan, but for some reason WWE has kind of started going stale. And there are other competitors. So there's TNA.
Nice.
Officially stands for Total Nonstop Action, but we all know what it actually stands for.
Yeah, no.
But it's also called Impact Wrestling, is also what it's known as. But and so there's that, but that doesn't really hold a candle to WWE. So AEW, All Elite Wrestling, was launched just this year. And it's really started to give WWE a run for its money. And I decided to start watching it. Me and my wife, because we were both curious about it, decided to start watching it just to check it out. And it's like you can start at the beginning now. And we're having a blast watching it. It's awesome. So to kind of break it down a little bit, because Nick, I know I told you that it's actually really good and that you should check it out. I got some more details for you though. So,
all right.
It was founded by Tony Khan, as I said, but the key members here, the executive vice presidents. Okay, you got Cody Rhodes, aka the American Nightmare Cody. He is the son. Yeah, well, he's the son of Dusty Rhodes. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, I know the name.
Yeah, Dusty Rhodes. He was known as the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, and he's like a golden age wrestler from back in the '80s, like the Hulk Hogan days. Yeah, and Cody is also the half brother of Goldust.
What?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, that's his name's Dustin Runnels, aka Goldust. So Goldust is Dusty Rhodes' son.
All right, didn't know that.
Yeah, same dad, different moms, but also you have Matt and Nick Jackson, aka the Young Bucks, which these guys are from New Japan Pro Wrestling, so they're not WWE guys, but New Japan Pro Wrestling. Cody Rhodes was in WWE for a while. And then you also have Kenny Omega, who's also from New Japan Pro Wrestling. And then also you have Brandy Rhodes, which is Cody's wife, and she's also she's an ex-WWE wrestler as well. So these are kind of like the key executive members of it, but they're all also wrestlers with their own storylines. And what I love about it is that they merge reality with fiction. So they are owners and executives of the company, but they're also wrestlers. But they incorporate that into the storylines, and it's really cool.
Well, doesn't the WWE do that? Well, Vince McMahon, doesn't he get in the ring sometimes?
Yes, and that's part of what I love about this stuff, because it's like almost like it's like everything that you're watching is fake. It's like Vince McMahon. Is he just a character? It's hard to tell, but it's kind of cool like that, and it's like, who writes these stories? I don't know. So All Elite Wrestling, it started this summer with some pay-per-view events, okay? So there were 4 pay-per-view events over the summer. One in May, one in June, July, and August. And these kind of launched the storylines and set up some rivalries. And it also crowned the first AEW World Champion, which we'll get into later. And it was basically all just generating hype. They got a bunch of ex-WWE wrestlers and wrestlers from other leagues, and pretty much just kind of scalped them. Just brought them over, and now they're AEW stars. But the thing is, a lot of people had to change their name
Okay, because for example, Goldust is in AEW now, but he can't go by Goldust.
Is he Silver Dust or like Silver Sparkle?
He goes by Dustin Rhodes, and so, but he still looks the same. And so there's some stuff that's kind of confusing as a newcomer to this, because he'll show up and they'll announce him as Dustin Rhodes, but you're just kind of supposed to know that he's Goldust, but they can't say it.
Yeah, probably due to legal
exactly
and rights and stuff like that.
Yeah, like they own the copyright that is Goldust, the WWE does. And so you do have to do a little bit of research, but basically these summer pay-per-view events, I didn't watch any of them, but they have like a recap, like a summary online that you can watch to get the rundown, but I'll give you the information that you need to know though. Because they set up the main weekly show, which is AEW Dynamite. Okay, this is a weekly 2-hour live show that airs on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Central on TNT. Okay, and you should watch this show tonight, listeners. If you're listening to this is airing Wednesday, October 16th. Tune in at 7 p.m. Central Time to AEW Dynamite because it rules. The first episode was October 2nd. So this is going to be the third episode airing this week. And it's a competitor of WWE's NXT show on USA, which, because that's WWE's Wednesday show. And right now, AEW is beating NXT in rankings. So this is why it's a big deal. Yeah. It's more popular than NXT.
What is that? I mean, is it just because it's new and fresh and more exciting, or?
See, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it is. I think it is like it's fresh, it's exciting. There's a lot of hype around it, and apparently people are excited for the actual wrestling. Like apparently the wrestling is actually good, and the storylines are actually good compared to WWE stuff. Now again, I don't watch WWE, so I can't really compare. But for some reason, wrestling fans are super excited for AEW, which is good. I mean, that's what kind of made me want to do it on this episode, since it's being warmly received by wrestling fans. And it seems like there's still a bunch of haters and stuff, but a lot of them just seem to be traditionalists, Like they're just like, oh, it's not WWE, so I don't like it types.
Right. Yeah.
Because WWE still has Monday Night Raw. They still have a main event on Thursdays and the SmackDown on Fridays. So there's still plenty of WWE that's around. So it's not like AEW is threatening WWE as a company. But they've dubbed these Wednesday, like this ratings war, they've dubbed it Wednesday Night Wars.
Oh, nice. Making it dramatic.
Yeah, so they got a name for it now. That means you're watching a revolution happen.
But are you though? I mean, is it?
No, it's just a TV show.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny because whenever whenever Cody Rhodes talks about AEW, he's like, we're gonna change the world. Like he says stuff like that, and it's great. But so far the episodes they consist of 5 matches, and of course they have a bunch of story and context and trash talking in between all the matches. That's basically the format of AEW Dynamite. Now also you have AEW Dark, which is their YouTube show. Because whenever they film an episode of AEW Dynamite, there are matches that the live audience gets to see that aren't aired on the TV show. So usually before or after the event. So they actually film these and they post them on their YouTube page. So I would actually highly recommend, if you don't want to commit to the actual AEW Dynamite show, get on YouTube. Watch the AEW Dark episode 1, at least. Episode 2 is already posted by now. They come out on Tuesdays. But check out episode 1, like the first 2 fights. If you watch it and you enjoy it, then you know that you should start watching the show.
That's pretty cool, and that's I think it's good marketing too for the show.
Yeah.
Is there any storylines in it, or is it just like, hey, these are a few matches from the day?
No, yeah, there doesn't seem to be any story. It is nice that it introduces wrestlers that will show up later in Dynamite. So, like, there is this he's like this skateboarding guy who has
half his face is covered in like skull makeup. His name's like Darby something. What's his name?
I thought you were going to say Tony Hawk.
Tony Hawk, yeah, he's a wrestler now. But anyways, so this guy showed up in the first episode of AEW Dark, and then he was integrated into the main story in AEW Dynamite. So it kind of introduces you to some characters and stuff. But it's worth taking a look. It's and I can attest that the wrestling, the actual like wrestling matches are just as entertaining as the real show, as AEW Dynamite. So it's good stuff. And I kind of look at it as stunts. You know, that's how I kind of see it. It's all choreographed and it's fake, but it's still impressive.
Well, I mean, these dudes are super strong and they're doing these crazy things I'm guessing they're using chairs and ladders like they've used before. And I mean, it's stunts, but still highly entertaining.
Yeah. And let's break down the storylines, okay? I'm going to run through these. So if you start watching the show, here's what you need to know. All right, so you got the Elite, okay? This is a group of, these are the faces, right? Which in wrestling, the face is a good guy, right? So the Elite is a group of faces. You got Cody, American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. You got the Young Bucks. You got Kenny Omega. So these are all, the executive board of the company. And you also got Hangman Adam Page, who his gimmick is kind of like he's a cowboy, basically. So you need to know that going in. Okay, so then what happened this summer, all right? So it starts off with, at the first pay-per-view event called Double or Nothing, which was May 25th, Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega fought in the main event. The winner would get to fight Hangman Adam Page for the first AEW World Championship title. So Jericho wins, okay? But then, all of a sudden, in a surprise, this guy named Jon Moxley, he's from WWE. He used to go by Dean Ambrose in WWE. He shows up, okay? He hadn't been announced as being part of AEW. And he attacks these guys, okay? Just out of nowhere. And this happens all the time in AEW. Like, a match will be over, and then some random wrestler will just jump out the audience and start fighting whoever won. So Kenny Omega fought back and beat Moxley big time. So this kind of started a rivalry between Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley. And this is one of the big conflicts that's building for the next big pay-per-view event. It's called Full Gear, okay? So that's going to be one of the fights. It's going to be Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega. Okay, then the next thing, the next pay-per-view event, which is All Out on August 31st, Chris Jericho beat Hangman Adam Page, and he won the title of AEW World Champion, okay? So Jericho is already the world champion, even though AEW just started. I mean, I guess they had to crown a champion to get the story going, right?
Yeah, I mean, plus it's Chris Jericho. I mean, he's been doing this for a while. People know who he is, and it's exciting, too. I mean, he's like, yeah, I'm the champion. Think about it. There hasn't been a whole lot of AEW, so... This is kind of what you see is what you get. So this is what we are, and this is all of it in the world. So it makes sense.
Well, and what do you know about Chris Jericho? Do you know about his persona and stuff?
Not really. I know. Doesn't he like heavy metal music? Like
sort of. Yeah,
that's all I know.
Yeah, he's like a rock star type of dude. But I don't know much about him prior to AEW. But the role that he's playing, he is a total arrogant douchebag, and he's the best. He is the best villain, because he wins the title, and then everyone at AEW is like mad, and so he starts walking around backstage gloating. He's like, yeah, I'm the champion now, what are you gonna do about it? And he's gloating to everyone, and everyone's mad that he won the title.
Of course.
And he there's a meme now. He goes up and he finds a bottle of champagne, and he's like, let's drink a little bit of the bubbly. And he pops it open and he starts drinking champagne by himself. And he's there's a olive, a bowl of olives, and he's complaining that the olives are too small and stuff. So this is right off the bat, Chris Jericho is just an evil tyrant that has to be taken down by the heroes. And so
but I love that though. That's awesome.
It's the best. And so, and Chantel, she's the biggest Chris Jericho fan. She loves Chris Jericho, and he's a great character. So Cody is eligible to challenge Jericho to the title. and that's scheduled to be also at the Full Gear pay-per-view event. So this is kind of going to be the climax of the current storylines, because you got Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega, and then you got Cody versus Chris Jericho. Cody's supposed to kind of win the title back from the evil guy, basically. So then you have the 2 episodes of AEW Dynamite. Okay, the first episode aired on October 2nd. The second episode aired on October 9th. And basically, it kind of just, a lot of interesting characters are introduced. The big thing is that it's still building up the conflict between Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley. Actually, there was a tag team match, like a 3-person tag team match in the first episode that Kenny Omega was participating in. Jon Moxley runs out. He's not even in the fight, but again, he runs out from the audience and pulls Kenny Omega off the stage. And this is like my favorite moment in the show so far. He drags Kenny Omega out to like the VIP area where like all these like audience members are chilling and drinking, like wine or whatever.
Drinking the bubbly.
Yeah, the bubbly. And he slams Kenny Omega into their glass table and breaks it. Yeah. And so it's like you pay to get this VIP experience. Little do you know you're going to be part of the show, and they're going to slam into your table.
Well, yeah, I mean that is VIP. It's a very important person.
Exactly.
You are the show. I mean, that doesn't get better than that.
Yeah, like it was great. Anyways, come to find out, Chris Jericho has assembled a group of villains. They call themselves the Inner Circle, is what they call themselves.
Man, that's really not that cool, but
right? Yeah, it's a little bit disappointing. They should.
It sounds like middle school girls are like, we are the Inner Circle. You can't hang out with us. We're the Outer Circle.
Yeah, it seems a bit petty, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, very much so.
But so you get Chris Jericho as the ringleader. You get Sammy Guevara, which is he's kind of like a young newcomer and stuff. He's kind of weird. He wears a panda hat.
Maybe he's just bringing awareness to, pandas and keep.
That's right.
They're endangered species. Yeah, save the pandas, save the world, make everything a better place.
Yeah, not such a bad guy after all.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you have these two tag team guys named Santana and Ortiz, and their role is basically they're just these 2 crazy dudes. Like they just want to kill you or whatever.
I mean, aren't all wrestlers kind of crazy?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, if you're entering a profession where you get to slam your head against the ground all the time, it's a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
And then you get this guy named Jake Hager, who is formerly Jack Swagger of WWE, who's kind of Chris Jericho's lapdog. And so it's pretty much building up this conflict between the Inner Circle and the Elite. And the past 2 episodes have ended in absolute madness. Like the final match ends, and then like all the characters jump on stage and start fighting each other. So like you have like a you have like a 12-person match. Yeah.
Like, do they say, "All right, thanks for tuning in"? Like everybody's like, they just say, "All right, that's our cue," and they just like jump on.
Well, it kind of escalates. So it's like one person who's not supposed to be there shows up, and then another person shows up to like to jump in and help his friends and stuff, and then it basically just builds. It's like Avengers Endgame, basically. It's like all of the forces coming together to fight.
That's insane. So and this is like just roll credits, and that's how it ends. Like
so the first episode ended with the heels, right? The bad guys, the Inner Circle. Mm-hmm. They destroy the Elite, okay, and it's like a grim ending. It's like it's the end of Avengers Infinity War, right? It's like, oh, what's gonna happen? And then end of the second episode, the Elite unite, and they are able to beat the Inner Circle, and the Inner Circle kind of limp off stage, like, we'll get you next time, and then to be continued. I mean, yeah, so you can see I am super pumped for the next episode. If you're listening to this, get in on this, okay? It's still early. There's only been 2 episodes. You don't have to be a super intelligent person in order to follow the storylines. So, I mean, like, I feel like a little kid could kind of follow along pretty well. So, get into it.
So what you're saying is it's fun for the whole family. Like, you can sit down, enjoy this, and
watch people beat the crap out of each other. Yes.
Hey man, that's good entertainment right there.
You should get Nolan a Chris Jericho little bit of the bubbly shirt. I will buy that for you if if you'll let him wear it.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll wear it very often, but hey, man, we'll put the shirt on him once, take a picture, and it'll be good.
Go.
Yeah,
throw it in a fire after that.
Yeah,
but okay, well, yeah, that's the gist of it, though. That's what you need to know. There's a lot more to it if you want to dive deep, but just watch it for yourself. It's great.
Yeah, it sounds pretty entertaining. To be honest, I'm probably not gonna watch it just because I don't really have time to. But I mean, if I did, like, it seems really cool, and I mean, I'm sure I'll be texting you like, "Hey, man, what's going on with this AEW?" You know, asking for the storylines and stuff. I mean,
I will give you the tea on the AEW.
Yeah, definitely, man. I want to know. I want to know how it turns out. Cody Carnage, what's his name? Cody the Cage Man,
the American Nightmare Cody.
All right,
and it's funny because he's like the hero of the series, but he has that name, American Nightmare, and he actually kind of reminds me of in American Psycho, the Christian Bale's character, because he also wears a suit all the time, and so he looks like a villain, I think. But hey, you know, he's playing the role of hero. He's got to take down the menace that is Chris Jericho.
Yeah, in the inner circle.
But anyways, I'm actually ready to turn on the next episode of AEW Dark. So I'm going to end this podcast here so I can start watching that. Now that you got me excited about it. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in to What is Sports. We'll be back next week. We haven't decided on a main topic, but we'll be doing the game recap of Michigan and Penn State, which is at 6:30 p.m. on ABC. We'll announce the main topic on social media whenever we determine that. But thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll see you guys next Wednesday.